Hi friends, my name is Tasha. Welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking about the last few chapters of the Let Them theory by Mel Robbins. This book has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed reading this book. I'm honestly kind of glad it's over though. I'm ready to move on to my next thing, but let's go ahead and talk about the last few chapters and then I'll give you a summary at the end. So in this book, Mel Robbins likes to break up the chapters into segments that relate to each other. So the first segment is called Mastering Adult Friendship. This segment contains 3 chapters. The 3 chapters are The Truth No One Told You About Adult Friendship, Why Some Friendships Naturally Fade, How to Create the Best Friendships of Your Life. This was a pretty eye-opening segment. These chapters were pretty interesting. I found out a lot about myself. She discusses that when you're a child, it's easy to create friendships because you're put into school with a bunch of people with the same things going on. And then you become an adult, and all of a sudden, you have to do that all on your own. You have to learn how to make friends in different places. And she also goes into something that she calls the great scattering, where when you turn 20, all of your friends have graduated from high school and everyone's kind of scattered and gone to different universities, or maybe they got into a relationship that sent them somewhere, or maybe they decided to travel somewhere. Who knows? But the great scattering occurs when you're 20, and all of a sudden, all those friends that you were friends with when you were in high school are no longer around anymore. So you have to figure out how to make new friends, which is difficult and challenging. So I thought that was really cool and definitely related to that for sure. And then she talks about how to make new friends as you get older. And, in my experience, I've always made friends at work, but then I leave that work and then it's a new great scattering, right? All of a sudden, those friends that I had at work are kind of nowhere to be found anymore, and I have to make new friends. And just the cycle continues all throughout life. And here I am at 42 years old and definitely gone through that cycle many, many times in my life. I'm absolutely super grateful for the friends that have stayed friends with me throughout, leaving different careers and all of that. Those are my true friends. And then she also goes into how to make friends, you know, by just getting out there and being the first person to talk. So she explains that if you're at the coffee shop and you see the same person there all the time, maybe you be the first one to strike up a conversation with that person and become friends that way. So it was pretty interesting and definitely got a lot out of it. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed these 3 chapters and I definitely learned a lot about mastering adult friendship. So moving on to the next couple of chapters, the next segment is called Motivating Other People to Change. And the chapters included in this segment were People Only Change When They Feel Like It, Unlock the Power of Your Influence. So this was really good too. So I definitely have gone through a lot of change in the past few years, and I also still have a lot of things to work on. I need to lose weight. I understand that. And I am needing to do a lot of changes internally and things like that. I'm really working through it. Hence the reason I'm reading these books, right? Trying to grow as a person and trying to get better. And so I definitely learned a lot from these chapters, especially the chapter that says people only change when they feel like it. That one definitely hit me pretty hard because I know that I have to feel ready to make a change. Otherwise, I won't stick with it. I used to smoke a long time ago, and I did not want to quit until it was time. And once it was finally time to quit, I had to change that mindset in my head and just decide I am no longer going to smoke anymore. And that was so hard, but I did it. And I haven't been smoking in like 20 years. I think it's been 20 years since I've smoked a cigarette. So, yay me. So yeah, I mean, it just there you just have to have that mindset to be able to change and to be able to make that change. And if you're not ready to change your mindset, then it's going to be incredibly difficult to make the change. Kind of like me with losing weight. I need to be ready to make that change and have that mindset in order to make that change. In the next chapter, where she talks about unlocking the power of your influence, That is when a friend is helping another friend come to the decision to make that change. So she talks about a couple of things. And one thing is the ABCs. She calls it the ABC loop. And basically, that's where you start a conversation with somebody about something and you apologize first, A, and then you ask open ended questions. So, open ended questions are, you know, how do you feel about your health right now? How do you feel about your diet right now? How do you feel about smoking right now? Leave it open ended so that they can't say yes or no. And then that leads to B, back off and observe their behavior. So once you've had this conversation with them, you've got to just back off and let them do all of the necessary things that they need to do to change. But then you observe it and you watch what they go through. And then that leads to C. C is celebrate progress while you continue to model the change. So let's just say me and my husband were going to lose weight, and I see that he's not really doing a whole lot to lose weight. Well, I have to continue to model the behavior and eat better, eat better when we go out to dinner and exercise, things like that. And then, so if I see that he chooses to make a better decision for maybe dinner or something, you would just celebrate and just, acknowledge that they're making changes and that you see it, you notice it. Sometimes that's all that somebody needs is a little bit of boost of confidence saying that, like, oh, somebody noticed that I'm actually making better choices. So maybe that will help them continue to make better choices. And then you continue and you keep going over the same loop, ABC loop. I really appreciated that she went into the 5 whys method in the book. I thought that was really interesting, and if you're interested in reading more about that, I definitely encourage you to get the book and read chapter 15. It's actually pretty insightful how she goes through it, so I'll let her go through it and you can read it. So that was it with the motivating people to change chapter. What do you think about the chapter? Did you get a lot out of it? I know I definitely did for sure. All right, going into the next segment, this one gets a little heavy. This segment is called Helping Someone Who is Struggling. And the chapters are The More You Rescue, the More They Sink, and How to Provide Support the Right Way. Okay, this is a very heavy couple of chapters and a very heavy segment. Um, I relate this to Al Anon. Yes, I've been through Al Anon in the past. I didn't completely go through the whole thing. I went through to a few meetings and I went through it a little bit. But this, what she talks about, is exactly what they talk about in Al Anon. You basically just have to observe someone who's struggling, help them, be there for them, but you can't make them change. You have to just be there for them and support them as much as you can and don't enable them. I definitely don't have the degree to speak on this topic at all. And so I'm going to basically just kind of push through this one. But I definitely recommend that if you are having troubles, um, if you or anyone you know is struggling, please make sure to get help with that and get actual counseling. And then, I mean, you can read this and help and try to help decide what you need to do. It might help you cope in some situations, but I definitely urge you to reach out and get help from Al Anon, from a counselor, from a friend. Please just get the help that you need if you are struggling with this or if you know someone who's struggling with any kind of issues that need help. So, moving on from this topic. All right, and the last segment is called Choosing the Love You Deserve. And in these chapters, there are 3 chapters. The first chapter is called Let Them Show You Who They Are. Then it's How to Take Your Relationship to the Next Level. And finally, How Everything Ending is a Beautiful Beginning. All right, this is all about relationship stuff. If you are either in a relationship right now, or if you are dating, or if you want to end a current relationship that you're currently in, whatever the case may be, there is some golden advice in here for relationships. I actually have already referred this information to my grown kids to read because I think that it's such crucial information. It's stuff that you don't really think about, but she really goes through it in such a good way that I highly recommend that anybody in a relationship, or is if you're trying to be in a relationship or if you're dating, I definitely recommend you read these couple of chapters. They're so good. and you get so much out of them, and it's just very helpful. Um, I would definitely recommend following her advice, and it helps you just to make not such a hasty decision, depending on what your situation is, and it really helps you realize like what's actually important. So definitely a great couple of chapters, and a good way to end the book, because she actually talks about at the end of the book, the biggest relationship that you need to have is with yourself, and you need to love yourself first before anybody else. And I thought that was such a good way of ending the book. And so yeah, those were all the chapters in this book. So overall, for the let them theory, I would say I think it's great advice, and I have no real bones to pick with it. She actually did answer a lot of the questions that I had in previous chapters, and she goes through a lot of the issues that I previously had. And she even has more information on her website relating to kids and all of that. So altogether, it was a great read. And a little tidbit, I highly recommend that you listen to the audiobook. There's a few chapters in it that she actually cries because she gets so emotional while rereading this information. And it just made me so much more attached to the book, and it just made me feel more attached to the content. I definitely appreciated everything that she said whenever she was really going through the emotions, and it was really great. Um, so I highly recommend the audiobook over the actual book, honestly. So that said, on Goodreads, I do plan on giving this one 5 stars because I think it deserves it. So I hope that you enjoyed my reviews on this, and I plan on doing a few more reviews and actually doing a few more other vlog type content shortly. But I'm really glad to be done with this book because this took me a while, and I'm ready to move on. The next book that I do want to read, and I don't know if it'll be the next video or not, but the next book that I plan to read is The Last Lecture. This book was recommended to me by my husband, and I'm so excited to read it. So I do plan on reading this one next. Okay, until next time, I hope that you've enjoyed this content, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Let your light shine, and let's enlighten this world together. Bye!